Japan did not build this bridge across calm water. It built it across the Akashi Strait, a sea channel with deep water, powerful tidal currents, heavy ship traffic, strong wind, saltwater exposure, and earthquake risk. To cross it, engineers had to build foundations in the sea, raise towers about 300 meters into the sky, spin main cables across open water, and hang a roadway above one of Japan's most demanding marine corridors. Then, during construction, the earth moved. A major earthquake struck before the bridge was finished. The towers were already standing. The main cables were being built. And suddenly, engineers had to stop, measure, inspect, revise, and continue. This is how Japan built the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge against the sea. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge crosses the Akashi Strait in Japan. It connects the Kobe and Maiko side with Awaji Island. It is part of the Honshu Shikoku Bridge project, a system created to improve permanent road connections between Japan's islands. But this bridge was never just a road project. It was a confrontation with the conditions of the strait. Before the bridge existed, the Akashi Strait was a barrier. People and goods had to cross by sea or take longer routes. A permanent road bridge could change that. It could connect communities, improve movement, and create a direct crossing over the water. But the shortest route was also the hardest route, because the Akashi Strait was not empty water. It was a moving sea channel. The strait is about 4 kilometers wide. Its water can reach depths of about 110 meters. Tidal currents can reach about 4.5 meters per second, or roughly 9 knots. And about 1,400 ships pass through the strait every day. That meant engineers had to build a bridge across deep water while keeping one of Japan's important maritime routes open below. The bridge would face fast current around its foundations, ships passing beneath the span, wind pushing across open water, saltwater attacking steel over time, typhoons bringing extreme weather, and earthquakes moving the ground beneath it. This was not just a gap between two shores. It was a working sea corridor, and every part of the bridge had to answer that environment. A normal short bridge would not work here. The strait needed a long central span. Ships needed clearance. The sea route had to remain open. And the bridge had to cross the water without filling the channel with too many supports. That is why the solution became a suspension bridge. A suspension bridge does not carry the roadway like a simple beam. It hangs the roadway from cables. The main cables pass over tall towers. The towers carry the cable forces downward. The cables are anchored at both ends. Vertical suspender cables hang from the main cables, and the deck hangs from the suspenders. The load path becomes a chain. Traffic loads move into the deck. The deck transfers them into the suspenders. The suspenders pull on the main cables. The main cables pass over the towers and into the anchorages. The towers push down into the foundations, and the foundations carry those forces into the ground beneath the sea. For the Akashi Strait, this made sense. A long span could clear the navigation route. The deck could hang high above the water. Ships could continue moving below, and the main structure could reach across the strait with only a few massive supports. But choosing a suspension bridge did not solve the problem. It only made the problem buildable. The finished Akashi Kaikyo Bridge has a total length of 3,911 meters. Its central span is 1,991 meters. Its span arrangement is 960 meters, 1,991 meters, and 960 meters. When it opened, it became a record-breaking long-span suspension bridge. But the finished numbers hide the real construction story. Because before the bridge could rise into the sky, engineers had to win the first battle at the seafloor. The foundations came first. No towers, no cables, no suspended deck, just deep water, fast current, and the need to create stable support in the middle of the strait. The foundation sites were in deep sea conditions, with water around 60 meters deep. The tidal current could be extremely fast, and the foundations had to support enormous vertical forces. Official bridge information describes a vertical force of about 120,000 tons. This was not like building on land. On land, engineers can excavate, form a base, and work from stable ground. Here, the ground was underwater. The current was moving. Marine traffic had to be managed. Weather could change. And the foundation had to be positioned with extreme precision. The construction rhythm began below the surface. Survey the seabed. Prepare the base. Control the work zone. Position the huge foundation structure. Check the alignment. Stabilize the foundation. Then prepare for the tower that would rise above it. Every step mattered. If the foundation was not accurate, the tower above it would be affected. If the tower was affected, the main cable geometry would change. If the cable geometry changed, the deck alignment could change. In a suspension bridge, errors do not stay isolated. They travel through the system. So the seafloor had to be treated like the beginning of the bridge's geometry. Barges and marine equipment worked in the strait. Huge foundation structures had to be handled in moving water. The seabed had to be prepared. The position had to be controlled. The current had to be respected. And the construction team had to build a stable base where the sea was constantly working against them. This is the hidden part of the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge. Most people see the towers, they see the cables, they see the long deck, but the bridge begins below the water, where the foundations lock the entire system into the strait. Only after that could the towers rise. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge has two main towers, each about 300 meters high. They are not only visual landmarks, they are the vertical gates of the suspension system. The main cables pass over them. The deck hangs from those cables, and the forces from the suspended roadway travel through the towers into the foundations below. Tower construction had to be both powerful and precise. Lift a section, align it, connect it, bolt it, survey it, then repeat upward, again and again, until the towers dominated the strait. Each tower section had to land correctly on the structure below. The higher the tower rose, the more important alignment became. A small error near the base could become a larger problem hundreds of meters above the water. And because the main cables would later pass over the tower tops, tower position was critical. The cable shape depended on it. The future deck alignment depended on it. The whole suspension bridge depended on it. Cranes lifted steel tower sections into position. Workers connected the structure high above the sea. Survey teams checked alignment. Marine winds moved through the construction site. Ships continued passing through the strait below, and slowly, the bridge began to rise out of the water. At first, the towers were isolated structures, two enormous vertical frames standing in the sea. They did not yet carry a bridge deck. They did not yet hold the main cables. But they marked the future path of the crossing. They showed where the bridge would cross the sky, and they prepared the structure for the next major phase, the main cables. A suspension bridge is not truly a suspension bridge until its backbone crosses the span. The main cables are that backbone. They stretch from anchorage to tower, across the central span, over the second tower, and down to the opposite anchorage. They define the curve of the bridge, they carry the suspenders, and through the suspenders they carry the deck. But a main cable like this is not lifted into place as one giant piece. It is built across the air. The process begins with a connection across the strait, a pilot line, then stronger lines, then catwalks for construction access, then wire spinning, wire by wire, strand by strand, across the Akashi Strait. The cable spinning process had to be controlled carefully. The wires had to follow the correct path. The strands had to build into the right shape. The final cable had to match the design geometry. And all of this had to happen above a working sea channel. Below, ships continued moving. Around the site, wind and weather had to be watched. At the tower tops, the cable passed over saddles. At the ends, it connected into massive anchorages. The cable was not just a component, it was the structural heart of the bridge. Once the main cables took shape, the bridge's silhouette changed. The empty space between the towers was no longer empty. Two great curves crossed the sky. They marked the line where the road would eventually hang, but the cables also had to survive the marine environment. Salt air is dangerous for steel over time. That is why long-term cable protection became part of the bridge's engineering story. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge uses a dry air injection system to help control humidity inside the main cables and protect them from corrosion. This matters because the bridge's most important structural elements do not just need to work on opening day, they need to keep working for decades. After the main cables came the suspenders. Vertical cables dropped from the main cables toward the future deck. They created the hanging points for the roadway. Now the bridge had its foundations, its towers, its main cables, its suspenders. But the road itself still had to be placed above the sea. Deck installation was another critical moment. The roadway could not simply be built out from one shore like a normal road. It had to be lifted into the air and connected piece by piece. Each deck section was raised above open water, held beneath the cables, aligned with the bridge geometry, connected to the suspenders, joined to the neighboring section, checked. Then the process moved to the next piece. Lift, hang, align, connect. balance, repeat. Piece by piece, the road began to appear above the Akashi Strait. Every section became part of the larger suspended system. The deck was not independent. It hung from the suspenders. The suspenders hung from the main cables. The main cables passed over the towers. The towers stood on the foundations. The foundations stood against the sea. That means every lift had to respect the entire bridge. A deck section added weight. That weight changed the load in the suspenders. The suspenders affected the cable affected the towers, and the system had to stay balanced as the deck grew across the span. Below, ships passed through the strait. Around the bridge, wind moved across the deck. Marine equipment handled heavy sections. Workers guided the alignment safely, and the bridge slowly transformed from towers and cables into a road. This is one of the most powerful stages of suspension bridge construction. The road does not rise from the ground. It appears in the air, suspended over water, connected by cables, held by geometry, and balanced across the strait. But building the bridge was only part of the challenge. The finished structure also had to survive the forces of the site. Wind was one of the most important. A long suspension bridge presents a huge surface to moving air. Wind acts on the towers. It acts on the cables. It acts on the deck. And if the deck shape is not stable, wind can create dangerous movement. Long-span bridges must be flexible, but they cannot be uncontrolled. They have to move safely. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge was designed for strong wind conditions. Official bridge information describes resistance to strong wind around 80 meters per second, with design wind conditions considered for major parts of the bridge. But the key idea is not simply that the bridge is strong. The key idea is that it is stable. A bridge this large survives not by refusing to move, but by moving safely. The deck must resist twisting. The cables must manage changing loads. The towers must flex within limits. The whole bridge must respond to wind without losing stability. This is why aerodynamic engineering matters. The shape of the deck matters. The stiffness of the structure matters. The way the bridge moves matters. In smaller structures, movement may look like weakness. In a suspension bridge, controlled movement is part of survival. The bridge had to live with wind, not pretend wind did not exist. But wind was not the only force. Japan is one of the most seismically active countries in the world. For a bridge crossing the Akashi Strait, earthquake engineering was not optional. The foundations, towers, cables, deck, and anchorages all had to be considered as part of a seismic system. And during construction, that risk became real. On January 17, 1995, the southern Hyogo Prefecture earthquake, also known as the Great Hanshin earthquake, struck. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge was still under construction. Both towers had already been completed. The main cables were being built. The bridge was not finished. Then the ground moved. Construction could not simply continue as if nothing had happened. Engineers had to stop, inspect the structure, measure the foundations, check the towers, check alignment, review the cable work, and understand how the earthquake had affected the unfinished bridge. Official project information states that the span lengths changed after the earthquake. It also states that engineers revised the girder length before continuing toward completion. That detail matters. The bridge did not ignore the earthquake. The project responded to it. Measure, confirm, revise, continue. This is what real mega construction demands. Not just design on paper, not just construction according to plan, but engineering response when the real world changes the structure's conditions. The earthquake became one of the defining moments of the project. It showed that the bridge was being built in an environment where natural forces were not abstract calculations. They were real. After inspections and revisions, construction moved forward. The deck was completed. The road systems were installed. The bridge was finished as a complete suspended structure. And on April 5, 1998, the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge opened to traffic. The final bridge is 3,911 meters long. Its central span is 1,991 meters. Its towers rise about 300 meters high. Its clearance over the sea is about 65 meters. And when it opened, it stood as a record-breaking achievement in long-span suspension bridge engineering. But its importance is not only in its size, it is in how every part works together. The foundations resist the marine environment below. The towers carry the main cables high above the water. The main cables form the backbone of the bridge. The suspenders carry the deck. The deck carries traffic. The anchorages hold the cable forces. The aerodynamic design helps the bridge remain stable in wind. The seismic design helps it respond to earthquake forces. And the cable protection system helps preserve the structure in salt air. From far away, the bridge looks simple. Two towers, two sweeping cables, a long road over the sea. But structurally, it is a chain of forces. Each part depends on another. The deck hangs from suspenders. The suspenders hang from main cables. The main cables pass over towers. The towers push into foundations. The cables pull into anchorages. And the entire system stretches across the Akashi Strait. This is why the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge is more than a beautiful crossing. It is a complete suspended system built for a dangerous site. The bridge had to be long because ships needed space. It had to be high because navigation had to continue. It had to be strong because traffic loads were enormous. It had to be flexible because wind would always return. It had to be resilient because earthquakes were part of the environment. It had to be protected because saltwater never stops attacking steel. Japan did not build the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge by pretending nature was not there. It built the bridge by designing for nature. Deep water demanded massive marine foundations. Fast current demanded careful construction. Heavy ship traffic demanded a long, clear span. Wind demanded aerodynamic stability. Earthquake risk demanded resilience. Saltwater demanded long-term protection. And the scale of the strait demanded one of the most ambitious suspension bridges ever built. The result is a bridge that does not simply cross the sea. It lives with it. Cars travel high above the water. Ships pass below. The towers stand over the strait. The cables curve across the sky. The deck moves safely under changing forces. And the foundations hold the system against the seafloor. The Akashi Kaikyo Bridge proves that mega construction is not only about size, it is about understanding the place. The water, the wind, the current, the ships, the salt, the earth, and then building a structure that can survive all of it. Japan did not build this bridge across calm water. It built it where the sea could move, where the wind could push, where ships had to pass, where salt could corrode, where the ground could shake, and where every part of the bridge had to answer the conditions of the strait. This is where suspension bridge engineering meets the sea, and where Japan built the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge against the forces of nature.